Welcome to Extraterrestrial Reality. Well, a UFO whistleblower has revealed to independent journalist Michael Shellenberger the name of a top secret UAP program that was put together by the Pentagon back in 2017, and it's called Immaculate Constellation. That's the Shellenberger on his website public.com put out an article today about this. And it's also being reported now by outlets like News Nation. Here was an article from Ross Coulthart today. It says here, a leaked whistleblower report says the Pentagon is operating a secret UFO retrieval program called Immaculate Constellation, according to independent journalist Michael Shellenberger. The report revealed for the first time the name of an alleged UAP program, stating that the executive branch has been managing UAP issues without congressional knowledge or oversight, possibly for decades. And, of course, the Department of Defense says they never heard of this before. Susan Goh, who's the spokesperson for the DOD, says the Department of Defense has no record, present or historical, of any type of SAP called Immaculate Constellation. Shellenberger told News Nation's Ross Coulthart he has been in touch with the whistleblower, whose exact role and other identifying details, including gender, he has withheld because they fear that what could happen if they were publicly known. He has fears about that, of course. And there's more to this article here. I'll leave links to all the articles I'll be referring to today. I'll leave links in the description so you can check them out for yourself. Here was an article. There was some information published on Reddit here by C. Britain. And it talks about Immaculate Constellation. It says here, the whistleblower alleges that the Department of Defense created the SAP called Immaculate Constellation in 2017 after the New York Times published an article describing an informal Pentagon UAP program called Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, or ATIP. And it says here, the report says Immaculate Constellation serves as a central or parent SAP, that consolidates observations of UAPs and by both tasked and untasked collection platforms. The whistleblower's report includes 7 categories of evidence. It describes in detail various UAP sightings collected by technical assets and United States military personnel. The multitude of wavelengths collected by these sensors, the report says, have captured UAP characteristics that are difficult or impossible to observe with the human eye alone. Subtle atmospheric effects associated with UAP are also visible through the sensors employed by the United States military and intelligence agencies. As we saw, as demonstrated in the Las Vegas alien video, it's very difficult to see these creatures themselves outside of their craft. Obviously, they're using some sort of technology to make it very difficult to see them. But luckily, we did see them. It took us time, but we saw. We didn't know what we were looking for at first, but now we know. And there were creatures in that backyard, so we already have the evidence. What we're doing now, we're playing this game with the government, where the government we're living in this world where the government's going to continue to deny it knows anything about UFOs or aliens or NHI and all that stuff, right? We're living in a world where there's going to be reporters out there like Ross Coulthart or Michael Shellenberger, Christopher Sharp, among many others, Marek von Rennenkampf, asking questions, Christopher Mellon, all these different people, right, talking about that there's a cover-up ongoing, trying to tell the world that the government's covering this up, there's a reverse engineering and crash retrieval programs. But meanwhile, the rest of the world is going to say no, that they're obviously they are covering it up because we have the evidence that shows that there's creatures here already. I mean, that's the part that's not getting mentioned here all the time. Because the biggest news out of all of this, right? The biggest news out of any of this stuff, right? It's not this Immaculate Constellation, right? That's great. It's great to have this news, but we already have. The bigger news is that we already know there's something here. There's no guessing anymore. It's not a mystery anymore. There is something here. The government is obviously covering this up, and we're going to live in a world where they're going to continue to cover it up. That's what this world is we are living in now. They're going to continue to cover it up, while a whole vast army of people out there throughout the world already knows that there's something here. We already know it, and we know that they must be covering it up. People with the way the tide is going to turn over time. People are going to be wondering and asking this question. They're going to be wondering, hey, I hope you've been covering this up. I hope you've been studying this for all these decades, for these past 80 years. I hope you know something about these things, because if you don't, then you're totally inept. So why are you lying to us? They better tell you something, because we already have the proof. But anyway, I digress. It says here, there's some disturbing aspects to this too. to this report. And I'm going to get into that. It says here, the report concludes that the existence of Immaculate Constellation demonstrates the extant capability to detect, quarantine, and transfer UAP and ARV, which stands for Alien Reproduction Vehicle. So it demonstrates the extant capability to detect, quarantine, and transfer UAP and ARV collection incidents before they are observed and circulated within the military intelligence enterprise, thus serving as a means of enforcing internal information security. So, apparently this program was put together in 2017 after those leaked videos, the Pentagon videos, the UFO videos. As a way to catch and kill, basically. Catch and kill anybody who has if there's any sort of incident that happens, right? Oh, let's get it. We're not going to let Congress find out about it. We're not going to let the public find out about it. We're going to keep this, we're going to internalize this. They wanted to reinforce those efforts. That's what this is. So that's what's going on here. Here it says, a former intelligence community official confirmed to public the existence of Immaculate Constellation. That program is run out of the Office of the Secretary of Defense, the person said. They don't want to acknowledge it's real. Well, we already know it's real. It's too late now, right? The same person warned that simply printing the name Immaculate Constellation could trigger government surveillance under the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, or FISA, of whoever publishes it. They won't comment on it, but talking about it will put you in the danger zone. They enforce the secrecy with a lot of vigor. Well, what are they going to do now? They're going to have to come up with a new name because it's already out there. There's 100,000 people are now talking about Immaculate Constellation on Reddit, on Twitter, and everywhere else. And look, I'm talking about it. Everyone's talking about it. So they're talking about it on News Nation. Ross Coulthard's talking about it. Everyone's talking about it. Michael Shellenberger's talking about it. Everyone's talking about Immaculate Constellation. And what does it matter, right? What does it matter? What are you playing this game for? We already have the proof. How come the Pentagon doesn't respond to the Vegas letter that I sent them back in June? Well, how come they didn't respond? We have that was proven by an expert, a video analysis expert, a crime scene reconstruction expert, Scott Roeder. How come we don't have hear back from that? We don't hear anything about that. The report describes in detail various UAPs from 1991 to 2022. The most common UAP shapes reported in the United States government data set were spheres, orbs, discs, saucers, ovals, tic-tacs, triangles, boomerang/arrowhead, and irregular/organic. The report describes various incidents found in the databases. One involved orbs surrounding and forcing an F-22 out of its patrol area. The F-22 broke trajectory and attempted to evade, but was intercepted and boxed in by approximately 3 to 6 UAP, according to the report. One UAP maneuvered in proximity, 12 meters, less than 12 meters, to the area directly starboard of the cockpit. There, the UAP established a rigid spatial relationship with the F-22, maintaining its exact position and orientation parallel with the F-22's cockpit, despite multiple evasive rolls and maneuvers. Surrounded by the presumed hostile UAPs, the F-22 was forced out of the mission area under the escort of the UAP formation. In another incident, the crew of a Navy aircraft carrier watched a small orange-red sphere rapidly descend from a high altitude to 100 to 200 yards directly above the flight deck of the CVN aircraft carrier. The UAP, here's a direct quote, it says, the UAPs appeared to emit a soft orange-red light which, bizarrely, did not illuminate the ocean or the flight deck of the CVN despite the visual appearance of intense luminosity. The surface of the UAP was observed to be a dynamic, rolling like the surface of the sun. With regard to that crew of the Navy vessel which saw the orange-red sphere descend from a high altitude, after that they described a sense of unease and feeling as if they snapped out of a trance. But anyway, this is very interesting. And also I want to just shoot back over to the public.news site where Shellenberger put this piece where he wrote the initial article. And he writes this. He says, one of Congress's most important responsibilities is oversight of the executive branch in general and the military and intelligence community in particular. The first article of the United States Constitution specifies this responsibility. This role ensures that powerful governmental entities operate within the bounds of the law, uphold democratic principles, and remain accountable to the American people. The responsibility extends to classified programs like SAPs or Special Access Programs. By law, the Department of Defense must notify the Gang of Eight, which is the chairpersons and ranking members of the House and Senate Intelligence Committees and the majority and minority leaders of the House and Senate and or the relevant congressional committees about their existence. The National Security Act of 1947 requires that covert operations and compartmentalized access programs by intelligence agencies, including the military intelligence community, be reported to Congress. Specifically, the President must provide a written finding that justifies covert action and submit it to the House and Senate Intelligence Committees. While the Military and Intelligence Committee may limit the amount of details shared with Congress, the constitutional legal responsibility remains. Sunshine remains the best disinfectant. Readers are, of course, welcome to disbelieve the whistleblowers and the evidence they provide of UAP. I do not claim to know what they are. There is, however, a growing body of evidence that the government is not being transparent about what it knows about UAPs and that elements within the military and the intelligence community are in violation of their constitutional duty to notify Congress of their operations. Over the last 4 days, a Pentagon spokesperson repeatedly promised to respond to public's questions but did not do so. We will update the article with the response should they decide to provide one. Well, they did provide one. We got News Nation had published it earlier in a later article from Susan Go. Yeah, we never heard of it. We don't know about that. Immaculate Constellation. What are you talking about? Who made that up? That's the response is. So, except they didn't say who made that up. They just said, they didn't hear of it before. But, so that's the thing. Basically, another program, another level of secrecy thrown in there, another program to keep the truth from the public. But again, what does it matter? I mean, I don't know why they're even bothering. The evidence is already out there. We already know that there's creatures here, right? We already seen them with our own eyes. Anybody who looks at that evidence that we've been talking about here, I know this isn't a big podcast. I got less than 5,000 at this moment in time. I got less than 5,000 subscribers on YouTube, and I have less than 8,000 subscribers on Spotify. I get a few thousand views or listens, whichever way, between the two of them on a daily basis. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,000. Whatever it is, right? On a daily basis. Usually less than that. Probably about, I don't know. Who knows? A few thousand. So there's not a lot of people who are aware of the kind of evidence that I've been talking about here. But it's already out there. It's already there, and it's going to, as time continues to go on, it's going to continue to bleed out, and people are going to they're going to want to learn more about the story. They're going to figure it out. They're going to look at the videos. They're going to see the proof with their own eyes. They're going to know that it could not have been hoaxed, and it wasn't, right? So and they're going to know that the debunkers, they won't even try to scientifically refute it because they can't. They had opportunities. They won't touch it. They're afraid. They can't do it. They know they can't, so they won't. And it's the same thing when it comes to the Pentagon. They won't even respond to it because there's nothing they can say to refute it. So they just say nothing. And so the evidence is out there. The proof is there. But we're playing this slow disclosure game for some reason to avoid catastrophic disclosure. And like I talked about in a previous show, what does it matter? It doesn't. Once you get across that red line, people are going to go to the biggest concern that they're going to have. They're going to go, alien abductions are real. It's going to go right to that on day one, right? That's where it's going to go. No matter what the mainstream media, they could follow whatever lead the Pentagon tells them to present, right? However they want to put it out there. They'll focus on, the Pentagon's finally telling the truth after all these years. They were studying it. They don't know what the aliens are up to. They could be here just for observation, right? They'll say stuff like that. They'll fluff it all up. But the reality is, right? The reality is that it's a lot deeper than that, and people aren't going to buy it, right? Once that red line gets crossed, right, by the mainstream, when the Pentagon finally does come clean, right, when they finally say, okay, jig's up, and they come out and they just admit to the truth, right? Whenever that day comes, right? The biggest question among people, it's going to go that same day. It's going to go, so what about all these alien abductions that people have been talking about all these years? All of the research on that. That's what's going to happen. It's going to go right to that. So it's going to be, if that's catastrophic, if you want to call that catastrophic, if that's what the concern is, going from, we don't know anything about it, it's not true, to, okay, we've been lying for 80 years, it is true, right? The biggest concern people are going to have is, how does it affect us? How does it affect the human race? That's what it's going to immediately go to that. So no matter which way this gets revealed, I just want people need to understand that it doesn't really matter. But the good thing is that the proof is out there. It's already out there, and I some of the reactions I saw firsthand from people I know personally who never gave this a thought before. When they were presented with the evidence and they looked at it, they were a little bit shocked, but they went on with their lives like nothing was going on. I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. So I don't know why we're playing this stupid game. We're continuing to do this because just so some people can get rich, and so we could get an upper hand on our enemies and stuff like that. Of course, you need to keep the reverse engineering aspects secret. Of course, there are elements to this, right? If you recovered craft and you're trying to reverse engineer it, you don't talk about that part publicly, but you got to acknowledge the reality that we're not alone. That's what needs to be. That's what people need to know. The scientific community, more than anyone, needs to know this for a fact. They need to know this for a fact. They need to be able to study this openly without concern of ridicule. That's the biggest issue that we have with this, and that's where we need to be. But I think this is an interesting story. Like, again, we're moving again. It's more things, more whistleblowers. God bless this person, whoever it is. He didn't say if it's a man or a woman. The person doesn't want to even reveal their gender because they're afraid that they might be able to figure out who it is. So good. We're moving in the right direction. But again, the way this is going to get presented is like, oh, looks like there could be something to it. Well, guess what? There is something to it. Even if this story is phony, say Immaculate Constellation is just some pipe dream, and it's nothing. This person was lying to Shellenberger, just came up with a big elaborate story and phony report and all that. What if that's the case? What does it matter? We know that the government's still covering this up. We know that they've been studying this secretly. We know anybody who's done the research would know this. There's just too much out there. But I don't think this is again, Shellenberger. This guy's a good reporter. He would know. I'm sure that he would know. I mean, there's always that small chance that somebody could be duped. Jacques Vallée got duped in that Trinity UFO story, but I don't think this is the case here. I don't know. I don't think it is. But we'll see. It doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter. We already have the proof anyway. We already know that there's a cover up. We already know that the reverse engineering and crash retrieval. We heard from other whistleblowers. David Grush, he talked to over 40 different people who were involved in those programs over a 4-year period, and he testified under oath to Congress. It's real. It's real, and we just need to accept this already. We need to acknowledge reality, like I've been trying to say. We need to acknowledge reality and then take it from there. How could you try to begin to understand something if you won't at first accept the reality of the situation? It just doesn't make any. It's not going to work. Anyway, I want to try to get caught up on some of the recent Spotify polls that I've conducted. And I guess we're going to start with for the episode "Possible Evidence of Time Dilation Effects During Las Vegas Alien Incident Revealed." I asked this question: do you agree that some of the anomalous imagery found in the Vegas alien video could be due to time dilation caused by anti-gravity tech? Now, as I was pointing out in that episode, looking at that video, there are instances, it seems. Various instances where it looks like you're looking at two images of the same creature, but in two different positions, as if the camera as if they were moving so fast that the camera saw. As far as the camera was concerned, the creatures were two creatures in two different places at the same time. and that could be that could be an effect of time dilation. And I just finished reading Lou Elizondo's new book, Imminent, and in that book he was talking about a theory that was put forward by Hal Puthoff with regard to this, and if this anti-gravity bubble would surround a UFO, and it would extend beyond just the construct of the craft itself, and it could have effects on the surroundings too. Like if you got too close to a UFO, you might experience time dilation effects. So I think that's possible. It is possible. But 27 votes so far. 10 people, or 37%, say no. 17 people, or 63%, say yes. Of course, I'm going with the yeses. I think that's what it was. I think that's what you're seeing in some instances. I mean, in addition to the cloaking technology, I think we're seeing some potential effects of time dilation, whether it's because of a nearby craft or for other reasons. It looks like you're seeing some evidence of time dilation. It just does. There were a couple of different instances when you look at that the nitty gritty of that video. That's what it looks like to me. And then for the next episode, intelligent ants from another world, or the biggest reason humans don't acknowledge the ET presence. I asked this question: do you acknowledge that the alien creatures interacting with Earthlings most likely evolved from insects? 19 people so far. 13 people, or 68%, say no, and only 6 people, or 31.6%, say yes. I agree with the minority on this one for sure. I think that they are most certainly evolved from insects. That's my position on it. I'll stand by that. Yeah, I think, but by the looks of these creatures, by the descriptions provided by people who have encountered them up close and personal over the years, they all remind them of insects. They look like insects with big bug eyes. There was reports that came out of the like people from scientists like the late Robert Sarbacher talked freely about this, and that's how he was made to understand this. I just talked recently about with regard to that person, a molecular biologist who allegedly did an autopsy on an alien creature. The insect-like, there are insects-like, but majority says no. They're not acknowledging it. They don't think that that's the case. I think that they are. Okay, for the next one, it was for the episode "Retired Government Engineer Believes Alien Autopsy Report is Genuine." I asked this question: do you believe the anonymous Reddit poster claiming to be a molecular biologist who autopsy recovered alien bodies was telling the truth? 25 votes so far. 7 people, or 28%, say yes. Another 7 people, or 28%, say no. And 11 people, or 44%, are unsure. I go with the majority on this one. I'm not sure. It sounds good, but I'm just not sure. I can't say for positively, absolutely, I can't do that. So I got to go with the majority on that one for sure. Yeah, because I don't know. Okay, for the episode "Debunker Mick West Declines Request to Analyze Vegas Alien Video," I asked this question: of the UFO debunkers listed below, which one was/is the most obvious phony? Okay, let's see here. There's 18 votes so far. 0 people picked Joe Nickel. Yeah, this guy. I might have picked him if I was participating in this. I would have picked him personally, because I remember seeing this guy back in the 90s into the 2000s. He was always on different documentaries just with this smirk on his face, like he was the sanctimonious, pompous, better than thou kind of attitude, thinking he's right when he's totally wrong. And I always knew he was wrong. Now we have the proof to shove in his face that he's wrong. But nobody picked him. But then again, I had a rogues gallery of other names here, so I guess that's why. But Joe Nickel, yeah, he's one I would have picked. And then another one, James Magaha or Magahe, I don't know how they pronounce his name. He got 0 too. See, a lot of people, some people today they might not remember these guys. He used to be on CNN sometimes, along with on Larry King Live, when they would talk about UFOs. The debunkers they would bring on sometimes were like Joe Nickel and James McGaha. Well, they both got zeros for this. They don't rank so far anyway. But both of them are insufferable, and their explanations for a lot of the stuff was always bogus, always terribly bogus. Okay, next, Donald Mensel. He got 2, or 11.1%. Donald Mensel, of course, he's probably the first well-known UFO debunker. He was a Harvard astronomer, and boy, he always had an answer. And I wasn't alive. I wasn't paying attention to UFOs back. I wasn't even born yet when he was talking about them. But he always had ridiculous explanations. And it turns out that it looks like he had a top secret clearance, and nobody knew this until after he died. He had a top secret clearances in the United States government, and it looks like he was also on the Majestic 12, the original Majestic 12 board. So he was just, it's very, very possible. A lot of people believe, a lot of UFO researchers believe that it's very possible that Mensel, he was a debunker, but really he was living a double life. Like Stanton Friedman, he believed that Mensel actually knew the truth, but because he was part of the Majestic 12, he of course he wouldn't talk about it. So instead, what did he do? He went out there and ridiculed and any kind of report. Always had an answer. It was just a meteor. Yeah, but it was hovering there by itself. Oh yeah, it was just a meteor. That's basically who Donald Mensel was. And then another 2 votes, or 11.1% for Philip Klass. That guy came on the scene in the 1960s. Started off debunking some cases like the Lonnie Zamora incident from 1964. This guy was an aviation writer. Terrible person. Terrible. He was very rude and obnoxious. He always had an answer, and but he in the end, right? All these guys. They're all wrong. They wanted to be right. They insisted that they were right, but as we all know now, all of these debunkers, they're all wrong. They were all either lying or stupid, right? I don't know about Mensel being stupid. I think he was just lying. Klass, I think he was just lying too. He wasn't stupid. He was a smart debunker. So I'm going to have to go with lying. I should have another poll someday on that, whether they're lying or stupid. Michael Shermer, he got 3 votes, or 16.7%. He's been a long-time debunker. He's Skeptic Magazine and all that, publisher of that. He's, oh man, another one, insufferable. I don't know. I think, wow. Yeah, I never liked him. I mean, he's wrong, of course. He turned out to be wrong. They'll never admit it, though, because these people, it's very important for these debunkers. They want to be right, and they're going to go down with this ship. They're going to go down, and Shermer will definitely go down with it. I can't even imagine someone like Michael Shermer acknowledging the reality. Especially, he won't do it. They'll stay away from it. Just like Mick West. He stays away from it. Can't do it. Okay, 3 for other, or 16.7%. So some people had other ideas. And then finally, the one who got the most, 8, 44.4%, goes to the biggest debunker of our age, Mick West. He's the biggest phony, they say. I'm going to go with, like I was saying before, you're either stupid or you're lying. I don't think Mick West is lying. I think he is stupid. I mean, he's smart. He was a video game programmer, all that kind of stuff. But I think he's stupid. I really do. I think he's stupid when it comes to this. When it comes to the UFO, I think he's really naive. There's something about it that just scares the hell out of him. So, that's what it is. That's where I'm going to go with that, with him. Okay, moving on to the most recent one. For the episode, the most critical aspect of the UFO/ET phenomenon, I asked this question: were you ever abducted by aliens? Okay, let's see. 22 votes so far. 2 people, or 9.1%, say yes. Wow. 6 people, or 27.3%, say not sure. And then the majority, 14 people, or 63.6%, say no. Well, I think that's pretty interesting. Looks like we got 2 people here who know that they've been abducted. And 6 people who they might have been, they're not sure. They don't know. Well, maybe there's something that happened to them that has them wondering. I'd probably have to go with the not sures, so I'd have to be in the middle because I probably was, for all I know, because I had that incident when I was a kid. There was a creature in the room, and it was an incident that lasted for 20 minutes, and it ended with me blacking out somehow. So what do I say? I'm not sure though. I can't say yes because I'm not certain. So I'm gonna have to go with not sure. I don't know what happened after that. I just don't know. Maybe someday I'll get hypnotized and we'll find out. That's what we'll do. Maybe that's what I'll do. I'll get hypnotized and we'll find out. Anyway, so the big story today is this Immaculate Constellation program, this secret Immaculate Constellation program. I guess they'll have to come up with a new name for it now, because they won't be able to use it anymore. It's not going to work because everyone knows the name now, because the whistleblower told it to us. So DOD needs to come up with a new one. I don't know. Why don't you just come up with, let's tell them the truth already. How about you just come up with a program? Okay, the jig is up. How about that? Just come up with a new program. Just call it the jig is up. Where's the nearest podium? Call up the newspapers and the TV stations. Let's do a press conference. Why don't you do that? The jig is up. How about you start that program instead? We already know, right? We know that you've been lying. Okay, come out, give us the reason why, and then let's move on. Let's get over this already. It's ridiculous. Why are we playing this stupid game? Why do we have to pass legislation to get you to tell the truth about this? I mean, even the people in Congress know that you're hiding the truth from them. What are you waiting for? Let's get this over with already. Anyway, I just want to say thank you all for joining me. Until next time.